and it means all subjects and new knowledge access. And what the Asanka does is just solving the issue of providing content without using internet. That's what it does. And
welcome to another exciting episode of the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast. 2024 is still giving, as the Gen Zs will say. And I'm excited to have the right person to speak about. I was going to say, new, but this particular company has been in existence for quite a while, and I am amazed at the impacts that they are making, especially within the education space. They touch a lot on technology, so coming up with EdTech products, etc. And I am privileged to have the marketing officer of this exciting EdTech solutions company to speak on their company, their history, and the amazing stuff that they're doing in this space. With me in studio today is William, the marketing officer at TECHAiDE Ghana. I'm sure as I was going on and on, you would have figured out the company that I was talking about. So TECHAiDE has been working in Africa since I believe in 2011, leveraging on ICT, to improve education, support youth development, and they're looking to venture into the health delivery space. But they are well known, particularly well known for improvements, especially leveraging on tech in the education space. And they collaborate with a bunch of international development partners in Africa, Europe, America, etc. And they provide appropriate technologies and develop human capacities that they believe, when unleashed, ultimately positively impacts the potential of individuals, communities, and institutions. William, welcome to the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast. I am happy to have you here today.
thank you so much, Kwame. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Finally, it's happening.
I know. Finally, it's happening. I'm really, really excited to have you here. So it's William Odate, Marketing Officer at TECHAiDE Ghana. William, thank you again. I want to jump straight, into the conversation. For the benefit of our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. Yeah, take it away.
So thank you so much, Kwame. It's such a great honor to be on your show. For those of you who don't know me, I am a marketer with 15 years of experience. I also say I'm an advocate for education and fatherhood. How I got into the education space is actually interesting, but because I started my journey working with award-winning advertising agencies. So we're working on, exciting brands like Senate Bank, Vodafone, Indomie, Pepsi, Lucozade. And going from one company to the other, taking those learnings from one place to the other has landed me here. And I'm using all those experiences to impact education using technology.
Really interesting. I'm hearing marketing 15 years plus in that space, hearing the sort of brands, products that you've marketed, how you've brought that skill set all through to education. This is going to set up to be a very interesting conversation. So how long have you, if you like, dipped your toes in the education space?
I've been in education in 2022, so just
2022.
2 years.
Good,
Yes.
good. I guess the perfect question then, perfect segue to the question I want to ask. Give me your overall take, or if you like, I believe you have some sort of fresh eyes looking into the education space. So give me your take. What do you think of the education space in Ghana?
Well, the education space in Ghana, I would say, is still young. It's a very, very young industry, owing to the fact that the industry is yet to fully grasp, the full potential of using technology, to impact and improve education in this country. You look at government, you look at the private sector, everybody is doing their bits. But in terms of, if you look at the potential and where we are now, there's still some gaps to fill. And I'm hoping with time we'll get there.
Okay. So since you're in the EdTech space, I want to ask, COVID happened 2020. I'm sure you heard the reports. You came 2 years after when the
Yes,
ground was
exactly.
when some will argue that the ground was relatively fertile for the conversations around the adoption and integration of technology into our education system or into our schools. But
Yes.
pre-COVID, the conversations around leveraging on tech, having that integration was mild to non-existent. How old are you? Would you say COVID was a blessing?
I would say COVID was a blessing and a curse as well.
Okay.
A blessing in the sense that it actually had to force the entire human population on Earth to find other means to go on with their lives. When I say their lives, not just living daily, but also how to do their work. And when it comes to how to do their work, it means the education too is part of it because students have to go to school. So it actually prompted and required the human population of the world to look for ways to make things possible and to make things as if nothing has happened, if I should put it that way.
Mm.
It gave birth to more startups, and more innovations requiring people to start schooling on the computer. Initially, it was looked at as like a far-fetched thing. Even though pre-COVID distance education existed, people were still sitting in, let's say, their offices in Accra and schooling in London. But people didn't really grasp, the effectiveness of it until COVID hit us. The curse bit, I would say, is a lot of people didn't know how to navigate after COVID. So we ended up, seeing some startups, die because being able to survive or exist after COVID, and now they have to now look within themselves and their organizations and see, okay, now that this is happening, how can we also integrate or change to fit the current trend or the current times? And these have been, a huge and a difficult blow to some companies, I would say. I've been reading the report, so I see it. About 60% of most EdTech online learning, to be specific, online learning platforms, just withered away after COVID. So yeah, COVID is a blessing and a curse.
It's interesting you said that because with the different guests I've had so far, I agree with you. When COVID happened, it was, I mean, a lot of people within the education space, especially schools, were running around like headless chickens because they literally didn't know what to do. They struggled because they couldn't envision that the reality that had befallen us, in the sense that we never in our wildest imaginations ever thought that
Mhm.
we would have a situation where we wouldn't physically be in the classroom, teacher chalkboard or whiteboard, passing on education or continuing education as we know it. And unfortunately, we had a bunch of schools that closed down, which was quite sad.
Mhm.
One thing is, immediately those who were resilient enough started leveraging and, finding out which tools they could leverage on to sort of continue education as the children were at home, etc., and all of that. It's very interesting sites that you've released that 60% of, particularly or specifically online learning forms, if you like, fell off post
Yeah.
COVID. What would you say is accounting for that? Is it that we have just gone back to our old ways of doing things, or we just do not see the need for proper leveraging and then integration of tech with education?
Yes, I'll say it's the latter because just from afar looking at such, platforms and institutions, you can tell that their entire model was built around everybody being online.
Mm.
If you are wishing for that, or you are just depending on that for your system or for your revenue generation to work, then you are going to be on life support because as human beings, we are social people, and the physical contact is also important. You can clearly agree with me that even though post-COVID, everybody or most people were happy that, oh, okay, I can now work from home. I can now do hybrid. I can now go to school and also go to class online. The mixture, the physical component was still important for human beings. And even looking at just the world of work, for instance, some companies, they work from home or using online platforms to do their work. Some stuck to the gun that, okay, we are going to make sure coming to the office works. And it had a good side for them in a sense that for them, it added, that added layer of making them more together, integrated as a unit, living in, let's say, a particular city, let's say in Accra or something. Purely doing something offline cuts you away from that social and community aspect that human beings, yearn for. For instance, if you look at a student who is only learning or doing or pursuing their education online, for them, they may see some people, let's say friends on the online classrooms platform or something, but because they haven't seen them before, they are not able to form really, really close bonds with those people. And these tiny, weeny bits are so essential for human survival. And even going back to the world of work, there were even reports that, people working like virtually, when it comes to an organization deciding to, let's say, cut or reduce their manpower, they first look at people who are working virtually to lay them off, simply because they haven't formed that bond with them. Those people making the decisions haven't formed that bond with them. So yeah, human connection, human bond is so, so important. And if such online learning platforms take such learnings or cues from these things, they can survive. They shouldn't purely base their revenue model for people using their platforms purely online 100%. They should mix it a bit. They should form a blended learning experience. And I think if they were doing that, it would have helped them to, survive the tides after COVID.
So you are pointing to the fact that they probably didn't pay attention to the context, if you like, a particular
Exactly.
context, to figure out
Yeah.
a way of ensuring that there's that blended learning approach to where, let's
Exactly.
move forward in a way that combines both and not,
Mm-hmm.
move the pendulum to one far end where it's everything is online.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
But then, and I hear you on that. For the most part, I agree with you and the answer that you gave, bringing it down to our context, Ghana,
Okay.
and even extend it across. I remember having a conversation with Divine Pe. He's one of the senior leads at a very popular education advocacy group in Ghana. And
Okay.
gave some really interesting stats, quite spooky stats too. We are having a situation in our country where we have over 1 million children who have never been to school. We are having a situation where we are having over 400,000 plus who have dropped out of school. There are issues with the quality education that has been delivered. In terms of the national standardized tests, we are having a 54% literacy passing rate. There's a deficit when it comes to quality teachers. There are issues with the nature and structure of our school environments. And he even zoned in a little more on the public school sector, where we are having, if you like, the growth of public schools going at a measly 4% per year.
Wow.
And these are quite stark and bleak situations, or a picture that he painted. There are many, if you like, tech innovations that we can leverage on to nip some of them in the bud, and to an extent even cure them, right? There's the issue of bespoke or customized learning, right? Where if we look into the solutions or the innovations that we are coming up with, we can have a situation where we can, customize a product, right, to ensure that we are able to track the learnings of a group of children or particular children in a certain locality or in a particular school, right?
Yes.
Have other areas where, in a situation where maybe there's a deficit of teachers, right, we can have a situation where we can have, some sort of content that is going to be provided for these children in most often than not deprived communities, to pass on that knowledge, and then we find a way to test them. All of that leveraging on tech. Because if we are to make the argument quite strongly, we are behind. We are behind when it comes to education, right? We are behind in terms of the constitutional mandates that is, if you like, putting us or instructing us to ensure that majority of our populace is educated by a certain date, right? I've forgotten what the date is, but there's our governments are imbibed to ensure that majority of the populace is educated. So why I'm wondering why there's still this for much of a better descriptor, the dragging of feet, right? The dragging of feet with regards to properly leveraging and integrating tech into our education system. Because when I think about it, I think that there's a lot of upsides, right, when it comes to leveraging on the tech and making sure that and what I particularly like about post-COVID is the fact that we had a situation where when COVID happened, we sort of were looking outside of our context to get solutions, right? So
yes,
there was the Google, then there was all of that. But one of the things that, to be very honest, warms my heart post-COVID is the fact that we had a lot of innovation that was popping up from within. COVID, in a sense, if you like, set the ball rolling, right? It threw the challenge at us locals, saying that, we can figure this out, right? We can come up with solutions that are contextual, that understands the nuance of our context, right? Come up with solutions that best speaks to the specific challenges that we are facing. So one of it is your company, for example. So there's TECHAiDES, and there's so many others that are doing some really, really amazing things. And to be honest, it really, really does warm my heart. But now I'm wondering why, why there's the slow adoption, and the integration is moving in, one of my guests said, in slow motion. I hear you on that, and I think we are both on the same page when we say that there are a lot of upsides. I like the conversation around understanding the context. I understand I a point you made about ensuring that we have a situation where we have this sort of blended learning approach, where there's obviously the in-person, but then we also have the situation where there's the option, right? There's the option of other, if you like, online tools, online products, etc., that can complement what we have with the in-person situation. That's a positive way to end that discussion. But I mean, it's one discussion that I am particularly passionate about. I'm sure you can tell, because I feel there is so much we can do with with tech, and it has a lot. It potentially has a lot of benefits that it could give to reducing the education inclusivity conversation that we've been having for quite a while. Anyway, William, I guess
so Kwame, should I add something to that?
Please, yes, please.
So purely, this is purely from my perspective. I would say the reason for the slow motion or the low adoption rate from the government or from the public education sector is due to the fact that, laws shape culture, and laws are made by legislators, or if you say politicians. Even if we come to our level, I can ask you, and I'm sure you would have an answer for me. If I ask you, was your entire elementary, primary, secondary uh, education, did it have an element of online?
Hmm,
What will you say?
that's a good question.
Yeah, I bet it was purely, in person.
Yeah, for the most part.
And yes, for the most part. And so if we look at our politicians and the people at the top making those decisions, they don't have a first-hand perspective on these issues. They still believe things can exist the way they are without the online bit. They are yet to see the impact. And education and technology is still like a very, very young industry, and particularly in Ghana, like I said, there's a long way to go. We are making headlines. For most part, governments I know have an agency who is looking into education and technology and all that. Yeah, we are making headlines and making progress, but you can't blame those making the laws because they are yet to see it firsthand. They didn't experience it themselves. And whatever is brought to them, they have to fully grasp its effectiveness before they can make laws to allocate resources into that direction. The COVID required the world to move in that direction, and it was because it was a matter of life and death
Mm,
for the most part, if you look at it.
mm,
So because of that, everyone, even if you haven't experienced it before, you see your neighbors, your sister countries, Nigeria and other people also doing it. So you have to do it to acclimatize to that climate and state of affairs. But when it comes to education technology, it's more like a choice
mm,
for most of these lawmakers. And yeah, it's only a matter of time,
mm.
if I should put that, if I should put it that way. Or if we get more people who are, more aware of the great impact that education and technology can have on a country. Maybe one day when, you are an MP or a minister of state, maybe that will be possible.
Really interesting points there. I guess we are both on the same page when I say that there's a lot of potential, that is untapped. And if we only just avert our eyes and take some steady progress in that direction, things are going to change dramatically in terms of the outcomes that we want to get. Really, really
Yeah.
awesome stuff. Okay, let's get into the exciting bits that I want us to discuss. Let's talk about tech aid. Unpack tech aid for me and my listeners about mission, vision, and tell us the exciting stuff that you're doing in the education space.
Okay, so TECHAiDE has been in existence. It's actually a Ghanaian company. It has been in existence since 2011. So we are over a decade old. It was started by actually an educationist. His name is Mr. Kafue Prebi. He worked in the education space. He saw a gap. He realized the potential technology can have on education. And then he just took a leap of faith, and then here we are. He's one of the most charismatic and impactful people I've ever met here in Ghana. So yeah, so TECHAiDE, like I said, has been around for a while. So far, we've impacted over 400,000 people, using technology to impact education during the time frame that we are talking about. We've been working with international development partners for the most part of our work, executing projects for these people using technology in the education space. So we've had the opportunity to even work with organizations like Helping Africa Foundation, which is based in New York. We've worked with CAMFED, we've worked with Power Bank here in Ghana, and we've worked with a whole lot of organizations, SBIG, Students Bridging the Information Gap. And what makes us unique, why people keep coming to us, is the fact that our solutions are carefully crafted for this, African terrain to be able to have the most impact. To just dive into some of our offerings. Currently, we have 4 offerings. We have a product called Asanka, which is our flagship product. And Asanka is not the Ghanaian earthenware bowl we eat in, because most of the time when we mention that, that's the first thing that comes to people's mind. Asanka is actually an acronym, and it means all subjects and new knowledge access. And what the Asanka does is just solving the issue of providing content without using internet. That's what it does. And it has gone through a series of versions. We launched Asanka in 2018, about 6 years ago. We are currently on version 10. It comes with purely groundbreaking features and things that make people improve upon their education. The Asanka contains the GES curriculum, and it also helps in self-paced learning, so for instance, if there's a kid living in the north, and in that area the internet is just terrible, but an organization has opened an ICT lab and they have the computers. And computers are mostly dependent on the internet. And so organization has opened a computer lab, expecting kids to be educated, to be equipped with 21st century skills and all that. And there's difficulty in using the internet. The Asanka is basically the answer to those problems. It sits in the lab, it's serves 30 people at a time or 30 users at a time. And then they all have access to the educational content, be it video, text, audio. It has everything in there. It makes it great for blended learning as well, because teachers can also use it to teach in their classroom and all that. Another thing we also have is an offering we call the Makerspace. And basically what the Makerspace does is basically providing, students the possibility to design their own experiments. In our days, you are learning, let's say, were you a science student?
No, I wasn't actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but I believe you had classmates and peers who were science students, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure you agree with me that in those days, we're in school and most of these students were just learning the theory aspects of practically whatever they are studying in school.
Very true.
Yeah. So this is where the Makerspace comes in, because it provides them with the possibility to design their own experiments. So these students, once they learn, they don't get the opportunity to design their own experiment. But the makerspace makes it possible, it makes it possible for them to design their own experiments. And the makerspace makes it possible for instance, for students to design a robot to perform a task. Makerspace makes it possible for students to design something, another activity using, let's say, building blocks and components like Lego and Ozobots, So Makerspace makes students more involved, in their STEM pursuits. And the third offering I'll talk about is an offering called EduLab. And an EduLab basically is an educational lab which is carefully put together with the right components of computers. And it comes with learning softwares that promises to improve on the learning outcomes of the students who use the educational laboratories. And also it comes with, fully crafted, curriculum, which also guides the center or the lab, the teacher of the lab, to help the students in making sure they get the outcomes that they want and improve the learning capabilities of the children. The last offering that I have to talk about is the training. And our training is one of the most things that I'm proud of and excited to talk about, owing to the fact that at TECHAiDE, we have our own dedicated content and training department. And these content and training department works closely with most educational institutions as well as the government. So we are in tune with what the government is teaching, the curriculum, and we are able to design those things. And also we offer teachers with training programs. So we organize training for teachers, which helps them improve upon their skills in delivering and helping students to improve upon their learnings. And these teachers also in turn gets to earn their CPD points, which helps them in their careers as well. We also offer training in robotics and other STEM related, training. So basically, yeah, that's what TECHAiDE offers. And we have presence in even though we are a Ghanaian company, we have presence in four countries: Ghana, Haiti, Gambia, and then Ivory Coast. So that's TECHAiDE for you.
I mean, I was just grinning from ear to ear as we were speaking, because I'm like, this is it. This is what we want to be hearing. This is an indigenous company that is, solely focused on ensuring that they are coming up with amazing stuff that is going to positively impact the education system. And I was really excited to hear about the many things that you're doing, to hear that you have a technology enthusiast and educationist as your founder, and he has been running this company from 2011. That really warms my heart, because it means that he has been paying attention, or he has been in this
He has been in the classroom.
Yeah. He's been in the space for quite a while. And I'm actually eager to speak to him as well, because I mean, I feel like he has this front seat view, like pre-COVID, right? The challenges, how he observed the space, why he still even stuck his guns to leverage on tech, right? Coming up with EdTech solutions, etc. And basically just how he was able to do it. Because this is really amazing stuff, to be honest. I'm happy about the products, the 4 main products that you have, which includes the Asanka. I didn't know it was an acronym, right? So you breaking it down makes it even more exciting for me, right? It shows an understanding and grasp of the space. So it says Asanka is all subjects and new knowledge access. I love it. For me, really, just touching on Asanka in particular, I think in terms of coverage, in terms of ensuring that we reduce the gap when it comes to, people who are educated and literate. I believe it is one of the great opportunities that if we leverage on and we execute on very well, it can revolutionize the way we speed up towards getting the outcomes of inclusivity, eschewing ignorance, promoting education, and promoting literacy, and so on and so forth. Because despite the fact that there has been positive leaps and bounds when it comes to internet penetration, when it comes to technological advancements, right, as a whole, the stats are really showing encouraging signs, to be honest, when it comes to these two metrics. But we do have context situations where we have quite a chunk of the populace that doesn't have access to internet, let alone technology, right? And so having a tool like this, like the Asanka, right, that has content, and so depending on how it's executed in those classrooms or in those learning environments, what has to be there is the content, right? The children don't have to worry about the fact that there's no internet and so on. So that offline feature is such a blessing, to those kids. And for me, the fact that they can replay it so many times, right? So depending on how dense and how engaging the content is and how interesting the content is, the child, depending on the subjects that they are also looking to learn, have the opportunity to play back that video, that content so many times. And then it allows for the opportunity for the teaching network to find ways to assess them on the content that are given to them. It's fantastic. I'm especially excited about the Asanka and the impacts that it can make. The second one for me is also, it's timely. Let me use that word, because bringing or making real some of the lessons that we had, which for some time were all theory, and then finding a way to bring that practicality, that realness to kids in this time is a huge blessing, and it's one of the reasons I'm a big advocate for the integration of technology, right, in classrooms. Because listen, if you look all around the world and the advancements that the developed countries are making, now we're having a situation where we have China, we have India, and other countries around the world who are moving, quite aggressively. This is something that can, really transform. And for me, I like the value addition bit, right? It adds value. The child sees how practical these things are. It's not something that is in the air anymore. And so when start already coming up with solutions and innovations that is going to change the way we do things in our context. That's one of the things that's big for me, Then we move on to EduLab. I will make time. I will discuss with my team and come and visit TECHAiDE in your office and come and give all of you, high fives for the amazing work you're doing. All of the flagship products that you're coming up with, it shows, it exhibits a deep understanding of what's happening in our context, in our education space, So EduLab is brilliant as well. The fact that is basically an educational lab that has, that's been set up with computers and learning softwares, etc. Brilliant. And when we cut across all from pre-tertiary to tertiary and even vocational, right? The last bit, which is the training components, and I think I know TECHAiDE a bit for the training components, where they pass on knowledge, right? They basically equip you with skills as to how to, if for one, I know how to use your products, and number two, all the other things that have to do with passing on, basic tech, technological related skills, and the things that are necessary for especially our time, is incredibly spot on. And it's no shock, right? When you mentioned that you were in 4 other countries and you mentioned the Haiti, it's sad what's going on in Haiti currently, but in Haiti, in Ivory Coast, and all the other 2 places that you are in, it's testament to the resilience of the team, their resilience, their creativity, their passion, their commitment. And dipping my toes in the education space for this period, I see how if you do not have these elements, it's difficult to push on and to continue to want to make a difference. It shows heart, where your heart is in terms of wanting to positively impact, education. So brilliant stuff. And listen, considering you've joined the team not long ago, 2 years, you've done a good job at unpacking all of the amazing stuff that TechAid is and has been doing
Thank
for
you.
this period.
Thank you.
Um,
I think it's a testament to what the entire team is doing at TechAid,
Yes, absolutely. I like to hear success stories, right? So just relax in your seats and start, showering me with all of the successes that TechAid has chalked over the period. Let's hear them.
So firstly, when it comes to awards, owing to the fact that the EdTech, space is quite an emerging space, there wasn't, any form of awards or recognition programs until quite recently. So when they started, like you said, our offerings are not things that you can easily just ignore. So we've gained some recognitions over the last few years. For instance, back in 2019, at the EDUCOM Awards, TechAid was awarded the Outstanding Technology in Education Award. Yeah, that's one of them. And also just recently last year at the Global EdTech Startup Awards, TechAid came first in Africa during their competition. So it's great. And all these are testaments of what impactful things that especially the Asanka is having on people out there. Asanka is just amazing. Like you said, it's just amazing. And each time people come into contact and people see the results that it's having on people, they are like, wow, it's just amazing. And beyond that, we've been having recognitions here and there. We are being invited to speak at most speaking engagements, to just share our learnings and experiences in the education and technology space. Yeah, I don't know which other thing you would like me to
Yeah, I
ask.
mean, so for me,
Actually.
yeah, those are fantastic achievements. And listen, it's good to get your flowers whilst you're making the impacts that you're making. The area I'd like you to touch on would be in terms of if you like the teachers that have been impacted by your training or the use of some of the products that you've put out, etc. Teachers that you've possibly trained. How many students have you impacted? Yeah, I'd like to hear those.
Okay. So TechAid, since we started operation, we've impacted over 9,000 teachers, getting closer to 10,000. We've trained these teachers, and these teachers are helping to improve the basic education certificate examination results of students, the BEC results, as well as anyone with STEM skills. Like I said earlier, we train teachers how to teach robotics and stuff like that. So we've trained close to 9,700 the last time I checked, but we are getting closer to 10,000. And when it comes to students, because our offerings are mainly focused on students, we've impacted over 390,000 students. 390,000 students, and we've covered over 175 locations. Here, even let's look at here in Ghana, our offerings have been able to cover currently we've covered like 14 regions of Ghana. We are aiming at covering 16 regions whilst we work with our international development partners. So you can imagine, so to count, we've covered over 175 locations, and it's just been amazing. It's just been amazing.
It's no shock. Like I remember I mentioned earlier in my when you spoke after you touched on the four main products that you rolled out, it just showed your grasp and understanding of the space. And you're coming up with solutions that adequately meet those problems head on. So
Yeah.
it's no surprise. It's no surprise that you are getting, or the numbers that you are getting. Listen, I'm particularly thrilled to have had you on to share this story. And for the entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs, and going to get into the EdTech space. And even if you're an entrepreneur in general, just listening to this podcast, I just want you to know that it's possible, right? We've had one founder who's been able to make this difference in our context, and they've moved on to other African and other African countries and islands, right? And I'm making a difference. Just meeting a few of the team members, there's no sign of slowing down. It gets me really excited, about the fact that a group of people can come together and decide to make a difference. And our education space is, really blessed to have an exciting and indigenous outfit like TECHAiDE willing to do the hard work to make a difference. William Odate, thank you so much for hopping on the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast with us. This has been fantastic. I am thrilled to have had you on here. I'm sure my listeners, have picked up a thing or two from, the discussion that we've had. Please, more grease to your elbows. I look forward to, speaking with Mr. Kafui Prebi, very, very soon.
Yeah.
As his marketing officer, you have done an incredibly good job at whetting our appetite as to, giving us insights as to, the company TECHAiDE and the amazing work that they're doing. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for the time, really, to share what it is that you do.
Thank you so much, Kwame. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing time, you having me here on this podcast. It's just been great, and it's been a smooth sailing ride. It's like we are catching up over some
Some chill drinks.
It just feels so unreal. It's just fun, and I would like to also applaud you for having this podcast, because it's a subject that needs to be delved into, and I've listened to some previous episodes, and I've been greatly been positively be inspired and affected by them. So yeah, kudos to you and your team as well.
We do not take those words lightly as we continue to, I look at it as all of us just chipping in and filling the educational pots, right? Just so we make a difference. We're happy to have you to share your thoughts and share your innovations and share your ideas and insights. So thank you so much for showing up. Listeners, thank you for listening and tuning in to another exciting episode of the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast. Like I said, 2024 is going to be boom, and I'm happy with all of the guests that we've lined up to share their insights, their innovations, and their amazing spirits, right? I like the fact that they're able to, all of the guests that we speak to are exhibiting a certain passion, a certain commitment, and a certain desire to want to positively impact the education space in Ghana and beyond. Until next episode, please stay safe and cheers.